Hello, and welcome to another live chat. I am super excited because my guest today is Miss Karen Samuels, and she is a mental health ambassador who is very passionate about sharing our mental stories. Oh, and here she is. I'm so excited to bring her up. Okay, should be coming now.
Here we
Hey,
go. Hi, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
how are you?
I'm a little bit tired. I'm not going to lie. I went out for a jog this morning, and I go for a jog like 5 a.m.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, and I'm up ever since. But yeah, just a
Oh
little tired.
wow. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, and I'm so excited for our conversation for today. And to just start off, can you tell us a little bit about you, your story, and maybe some like fun facts about yourself?
Okay, let me start with the fun facts, I guess. A fun fact, I like to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and sing really, really loud, pretend I'm at a concert and I am the star at the
Okay.
concert. Um, Another fun fact, I guess, again, I love to clean. Cleaning reminds me of clearing out my head. So, and while I'm cleaning again, I feel I'm at a concert and I am the performer at the concert. Another fun fact, I am the one that you will drive by on the road that is singing her heart out in her car because, again, I'm at a concert and I am the star at that concert.
Yes.
So, as you can tell, I love music. With that said, also, I'm 52. I'm a mental health advocate, and I got into advocating because of my life experiences with my own mental challenges. I also have epilepsy. I have focal and neurological seizures, which came on in my 40s. And I am menopausal, and I pronounce that to the world. I don't know what this thing is, why we got this, but it's something that I have to embrace and endure with. So that is something again that's about me, and I try to normalize the face and look of mental challenges as growing up. There were things that I went through. Now knowing it's trauma, again not knowing what trauma was back then. Coming from I'm Jamaican born, Canadian raised. Um, I don't even think anyone in my surroundings, Black, Caribbean, Jamaican, talked about trauma or said the word trauma. Um, I don't remember anyone saying mental challenges. If the word mental came up, it was equated to the word crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a look that went with that word crazy, which was dirty, just disheveled, on drugs, confused. That was always what I thought. And then there was another two words I did grow up around: strength and weakness. Um, Strength meant that you don't talk, you keep it inside and you deal with it. I don't know what you're going, but you're going to deal with it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's strength, but you don't let it out. Weakness. I grew up in my Black community, thinking weakness is telling people your business, telling
Mm-hmm.
people that something's wrong, um, saying that I need help. That's what I grew up with, thinking what weakness was. Well, I guess we'll get into the talking and I'll tell you what now I understand what those two words mean.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I agree with you because I have a similar background in terms of growing up in a Caribbean household because my mom's from Grenada and my dad's from Aruba.
Mhm,
And I also grew up in like a Christian household. So that was like more faith over everything else,
mhm,
which we'll get to a little bit later. But I agree with the sentiments of like strength came from keeping it to yourself. Strength came from not airing out the family business, like, you know, and all of that. So mental health really wasn't prioritized as much because we thought, like you said, sharing our business was weakness. So I resonate with that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I love when people start to understand. And we're still, as much as we talk about mental health, mental challenges, mental illness, there's a lot we still don't know because I see people out here. I watch a lot of things. I just don't say it. And I see them almost use anything that happens now. Oh, there's so many people that are mentally sick, mental
Yeah.
illness, all the mental challenges that you have. Well, mental challenges and mental illness are two different
Right.
things. And I keep on seeing people charge that together. And it's almost like we've gotten to after COVID where this is the mental health is like a trend, which this was way before COVID. A lot of people had asked me when COVID came around how I dealt with it so well. And I said, well, I was going through some stuff and I came out before COVID saying, you know what, I have mental challenges. And I go, what it felt like was COVID to me way before COVID. I felt like I was trapped inside my head. I was locked up
Mm,
inside my head and I couldn't get out.
mm,
That's what it felt like to me. So because of the years of therapy, when COVID came around, I knew how to deal with being locked up inside. I knew how to I had tools and
right.
resources to help me get outside of my head. So I kind of go back with people for me. And as I said, my story is my mental story. Um, my story is what happened to me. Uh, I do what I do so I can relate to others because for me, I wish there was someone when I was going through what I was going through that looked like me. It was either I was called crazy or people didn't believe me. It was they said I looked too neat, I looked too good. I so for anything to be wrong with me.
Mm,
Then on the other side, when I started doing things that weren't normal to other people. And we'll get into that, the whole Christian thing. I
mhm,
was told I had a demon. Um, I needed to go to church and get baptized and be prayed on.
mm,
Was told that I was told not to tell anybody because I was crazy. Um, I was also ridiculed, and then the rumors started to go around
wow.
outside um, saying I was on drugs. I've never, ever in my life taken drugs.
Wow.
Was popping pills. The only pills that I was taking, and we'll go into that, was the first thing that the doctors, when you say something's wrong, the first thing I got told is to go on some anxiety
Yeah.
pills. And I follow what the doctor says. So I was taking pills for what I thought I had was anxiety, which everybody should be then taking pills because everyone has anxiety.
Right.
Um, and I've never smoked. I didn't grow up around, again, grew up in that Christian where smoking was wrong. So, and it wasn't around me, never smoked anything. And as for alcohol, I did taste it. I don't understand how people drink something that burns their throat. So it's a choice not saying to anyone, but it was something there's no alcohol that I like unless it tastes like juice without the alcohol. So I do drink non-alcoholic beverages because it tastes better to me. I love water and lemonade, but all of that, I had people saying this, and I felt growing up in a Christian household. We grew up as Seventh-day Adventists. We'll get into that. As I said, I had to find I what I seen growing up in the church. That was the church has the most sinners and fornicators that I have seen.
Mm,
They are the most judgmental, and they took away a lot from me.
mm,
Um, I was told to hide a lot of things, up to even my last name. My
wow.
last name has never been Rowe. My name has never been Karen Rowe. My name is Karen Samuels. But the church told us, or told the woman that had me, that because she had 6 kids, 4 different fathers, it looked
Wow.
bad that we were all called different last names. So let's all go with one last name, which was her married last name.
Wow.
The man she married didn't even talk to us when we came up. He never mistreated us in that kind of way, but for me, he never even said hello. And I think he was deceived. He didn't know that, the woman that he married had so much kids. We just kept on popping up from Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and he was younger, and I don't think he understood. But here I am, asked for a church that you're supposed to go to that's no judgment. Um, and this is very, very young, 8, telling me that I had to hide my father's last name, my father that loved me like crazy,
Mm.
give up my father's last name and call myself something else because it didn't look good in a place that you're supposed to go to, whether you look good or look bad. There's no judgments there. And I think that also added to some of the confusion, because at church I was one thing, and then at home in school they called you by your right they called you by what you are. So you're playing 2 different parts here. That was where it was. And for me, because also growing up and seeing things in the church, when I fell, when I broke, um, I wondered why the church never looked for me.
Mm.
You know, woman, this woman that went to the 2 Seventh-day Adventist church here in Toronto, you
Wow.
know that she has 6 kids and you only see her with one. She has over 35 grandkids and you only see her with 3. Yet none of you guys can turn around only one true family member who is not DNA. But we grew up together from the church, lives in Brazil now, was the one that reached out and says, where's Pepe? Because he still calls me by my name my dad gave me. It's not a pet name, it's Pepita, but Pepe for short. And he's like, where? And he heard some things and he said he refused to believe
Wow.
it. But no one in the church came and looked for me. And you're talking to an 8-year-old girl right now. There's still that 8-year-old girl that lives inside of me. There's still that mixed up 17-year-old teenager that's still in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's that 35-year-old that was confused, 40-year-old that had to figure out something, 45-year-old that had to turn around and get back up, and the 52-year-old right now that's embracing everything that she went through and could tell you that I'm brave, I'm strong, um, I've gotten more than one chance. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to say, guys, don't even count and say my second chance. You can get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 chances. And that 52-year-old that decided that again, at 52, I'm starting back over again.
Wow. Uh, I just love that even though you experienced a lot of pain from the church community, you still have that overcomer spirit to you. And I just appreciate that so much because although you were experiencing the hurt, and I just want to say, I'm sorry that you experienced that because that is not an accurate representation of who God is. And I'm sorry that you felt like you had to hide a piece of yourself in order to fit into expectations that people put on you. And I'll just say this, that is not the heart of God. And I will also share, like, for me, growing up in a Christian home, I also had to contend with a lot of stuff in church that I felt, to me personally, was just not Christ-like. And also in getting like diagnosed. So for those who don't know, I received a bipolar diagnosis in January of 2021. And that really rocked my world in terms of how I related to God, how I related to myself and my identity. So I could definitely resonate with you when you say that your identity was even in question. Like at church, you were one thing, at school and everywhere else, you were another thing. Like for me, I felt, God, I've been going to church, I've been doing everything. Why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have this? And even though I had all those questions, I knew that God was with me in those moments where I felt like I couldn't even feel his presence. And I do want to encourage people, whatever faith that you are a part of, don't lose that hope that you have, because that's the hope that I have in Christ that keeps me going. And that is hope that is able to help you on your mental health journey. And I do want to also say that, Karen, your story inspires me, because despite what people threw at you and what people tried to make you seem on the surface, you still had that overcoming nature about you to really navigate the healing process. And I do want to go into more of that. Like, how, despite everything that you went through, what did you do and what tools did you use? Like, how did you get to a place where you said that you're now accepting a lot of the things that have happened to you? Like, how do you go from not really knowing what to expect and how to process it to now accepting a lot of the things? Like, what was that process like?
I'm going to go back to when I was 3 and when I was in Jamaica. Having the epilepsy, actually, I had full memory loss. And for anyone out there with memory epilepsy, because people goes, what do you mean you had full memory loss, but you can remember things? My short-term memory is screwed up. I started forgetting things like in my 20s, 30s, but I started to remember. I could remember to as far back as 2. And people won't like when I talk to the, epilepsy specialists, and they go, yeah, that's what happened. And you forget your present life and you can go back and remember things. I remember coming back and in Jamaica, my dad is a fisherman. And he also had a glass bottom boat in the part of Jamaica where I'm from in St. James, Montego Bay. It's a neighborhood. I don't know if you call it a town or whatever, called Flankers. Where my dad used to fish, Dead End Beach, for anyone that knows it, is right beside Montego Bay Airport. And when I was young, I used to go to the beach and I used to watch the planes. And I used to feel and believe that I was a plane. Um,
Mm-hmm.
at the lowest, and truly believe I was a plane. And at the lowest part, and I'll just tell everybody after with the story how, I came out from that. At the lowest part in my life where I was just confused and I just felt that no one believed me. Um, I couldn't understand what was going on in my head. And a lot of the rumors came from the woman that had me, my mother. I mean, this woman used to patronize me. She used to call me, grow up, she used to call me a big nosed black monkey brute. I hated being black. I hated my nose. I hated picky hair. She used to compare me to my older sister, who she adores. She just adored. And she used to ask me, how comes I don't look as pretty? I should look as pretty. My hair is not as nice as her. My body is not as her. She knew, she just showed her favoritism. That's just what it was. And I took that personally, but I didn't know what mental was. I didn't know what that was, what these feelings were. And again, getting older and forgetting things. I had 2 car accidents, just didn't know why I would go to work and don't know how I got there, why my memory was gone. I decided to go to a place, as my dad's a fisherman, we were in the water. Water to me means cleansing, means clean. And it could also be that I also grew up, my grandmother, she's church woman, grew up where water is, cleaning, cleansing. And I decided to clean out the bathtub where I was staying, because at that time I was homeless. I was staying at um, in someone's bedroom. And that was the time I decided I was going to go under. And it wasn't necessarily, yes, it was, I tried to commit suicide, but in my mind, it wasn't to die. It was, I thought going under, closing my eyes, I would come back up and start over again. So
Mm-hmm.
not everybody just wants to give up or try. Sometimes there are things that, for my case, it was to start
Mm-hmm.
again. When I started to slip under, my phone rang. And previously, my older brother died. He was deported to Jamaica and he died. And my father went to the funeral and he didn't see me. And he was wondering, where am I? Because he hadn't heard about me. The woman that had me, his baby mama, told him that I went crazy and she doesn't care. And she wished the funeral was mine. And this is my dad telling me.
Wow.
But the difference is she wouldn't be there. His daughter, his first daughter, the one that his mother, me and her are the only ones that have the same mother and same father. She told him I was going crazy. She also spread a lot of things. There was a store she had, lied. I can't believe my mother turned around. I robbed the store. I left. That's a whole different story. But she said, I went crazy. My dad dropped on the floor. My dad's Pentecostal Church of God, so the Holy Spirit. They're dramatic. Dropped on the phone on the floor, and he says, "Where is Pepe?" Because he named me Pepita after one of the tourists that used to come on his boat, and she was very kind to him. And he named me Pepita, and they called me Pepe for short. So Pepita is not a nickname, a pet name. It's actually a name, but my mother wouldn't allow him to put that on the paper. But that's what he decided to call me, and everyone in Jamaica decided to call me that. He says, "Where is Pepe? Find my Pepe, find my Pepe." And the youngest sister, the one, she has a different dad, she knew where I was. We were in contact, and she gave him my phone number.
Wow.
And the day I decided to go under was I was interrupted by the phone, my cell phone ringing. And that was my dad. I just remember him saying, "Pepe?" And I said, "Daddy," just very because we hadn't talked maybe for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I could tell everybody, Air Pepe. I felt that power in that plane. I jumped up, I was startled, and I felt myself moving towards the runway.
Mm.
I felt that power. His voice was that power. And then I felt myself watching the other planes until it was my turn to go right at the peak of that runway. And I felt myself taking that deep breath. Right before the plane gears up, the plane gets silent, and then you hear that pop, and then you feel the power. And that's when I felt myself going, 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 going. And trust me, I was carrying weight. I was overloaded with weight,
Mm.
but I was going. And I just remember myself looking up, and there I lifted it up. And that was me saying, that's when I decided to ask for help. That's when I started going up and up and up. And the weight that I was carrying and I felt, it started to feel lighter. Not to say that I wasn't still carrying the weight. It just started to feel lighter and lighter and lighter as I was going up. And that's where I say to people, I equate myself to a plane. When people say get over it I don't know if I can get over it. How I've learned now is to handle it. And that was 7 years of therapy and also learning how to love myself.
Mm.
I was never taught to love myself. I didn't know how to love myself. And again, from the community that I was in, and I'm just talking about myself, loving yourself meant you're arrogant. You feel that you're better than anybody else. And you're always watching out for, like, to be careful and tiptoe around them. Again, I never discovered me or learned me or anything like that. And I was always, again, because I disliked myself, trying to be what everybody else wanted to be, and looking at certain examples like, gosh, I wanted to be light skinned with mixed hair and straight nose. I was always, or I put myself with people that I wish I looked like or I wanted to be
Mm.
like. I decided to start discovering myself. And I can tell you, I'm still discovering myself, and I think I'm always going to be discovering myself as long as I have life. That is the best feeling, and that's when I realized I fell in love with myself. And with falling in love with myself, I went and sought help for myself.
Wow. I love that. And I especially love like the plane analogy because you are so right. Like, we still hold on to certain things. Like, the baggage doesn't automatically disappear because of the altitude. And I just love that analogy. Like, we could still use the tools. Like you say, you went to therapy and you had to, really dig deep into a lot of the things that you were experiencing, and you were still able to soar despite the baggage that was still there. And also, I love how you mentioned the importance of loving ourselves, because like you said, a lot of people, when they hear self-love, they think, oh, that's selfish. They think, oh, like, why do we have to love ourselves? So what would you say to someone who is wanting to love themselves but is struggling to do so? Like, what would you tell somebody who wants to start? Like, where could they start?
I would say to start with, again, with me, it's getting that professional help. The professional part, I'm going to say, you always need someone professional. And again, not every professional is going to be a fit for you, because you need somebody who can cater to your individual needs. But I'm going to say, I would say the way that I started is, I would never really look at myself in the mirror. Yes, I'd pass, put my clothes together, but I've never really ever looked at myself with everything taken off. I've never really looked at myself in the mirror. And there was a fitness program that I was in, and it was telling you look at yourself. And then I think another program, because I started listening to different affirmations, and I listened to musical affirmations, and it kept on saying look at yourself. And then I remember hearing Michael Jackson's song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. And I decided to look at that. And then I was also listening to a program that was saying that, talking about crazy, and people saying talking to yourself is crazy when it's not. And they said, well, then not talking to yourself, but answering yourself. And the person said, no, it's not. Look in your mirror, and who else but you can talk to you, because you know what you're thinking. No one else can convince you but you.
Yeah.
And that's where I started looking into the mirror, and I started telling myself that I love me. And then I started answering myself with how I was, but I don't like this. And then I started talking, come on, Karen, you know better than that. Why don't you like this? Like this, girl, you love yours. And yeah, I do love myself. Yeah, Karen, you got to. And I started realizing that I felt good. I was laughing with myself. It made me feel good. And just like what they said, as much as other people tell me, you're beautiful, and they were telling me this from before, like, but I never believed it. It is what you believe. It is what you say to yourself. I started telling myself how proud I was as I started to, make progression with me. I started rewarding myself. I actually go out on dates by myself. Getting to know myself, and also knowing that on those days that I still have, those days where I slip into depression, or I get frustrated, or the past comes up. I may dream a dream and something comes up. Those are the days again where I want to split back. I go back in the mirror again, and I look at myself, and I said, come on, Karen. I have to acknowledge what's going on. And I'll cry and I'll cry, and I go, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And again, that plane analogy comes back, where I said we go up sometimes and we feel the turbulence. And it's either we're going to hold on to that turbulence and go through, but if I feel I cannot handle that, I will have to lower myself and land. And that's where I said I will have to figure out what kind of help I am going to need. And I call that's my tools. That's where I'm going to have to unscrew some things, screw back in some screw, maybe take out a seat, put in a new seat. Maybe I don't need so many seats. That's where I believe I have to adjust, and put my adjustments and fix up myself. And that's where I really want to put to everyone here. Mental challenges is what I have. I have a neurological disorder, which is epilepsy. I don't have an illness. I believe everyone has challenges. I didn't know how to control my feelings and my emotions. The anger with me because of what I went through, the trauma, and trauma is different for everyone. The trauma that I went through young, and just feeling rejected, abandoned, I built up an anger. And that anger would get out of control. I have not physically touched or hurt somebody, but I can kill you with the things that come out of my mouth. And it became so uncontrollable that after I would spew this venom, I would regret it. So that's where I kind of regret where people lose control of their feelings and their emotions, and some can harm you physically. And when they say they blacked out, they didn't know. I'm telling you, I felt that where it just keeps on coming out, and you just can't. Well, I can now if I choose to, but you don't know if you weren't prepared to, or no one taught you how to control that. It comes out.
Mm,
And it got to the point now where, as I said, 7 years of therapy, 7 different therapists I had to go to because not everyone listened. And
mm,
also knowing that where I come out and I say to everyone, you all have your individual story. I had to figure out something because when I broke, I said I fell. I had to put myself back together and get back up again. I had to find out things that were going to work for me. And my story will never be your story. My mind can't be your mind. However, I'm one that tell you this is what mental challenges looks like. Um, the ones that smile the most, that think that everything is all figured out, and you think that they're so happy and they're energetic. You're looking at her. I was struggling the most behind this beautiful smile. I was going through this and I didn't know how to control this mind.
mm.
I've learned now how to control the mind. I've learned that it's my choice. And do I want to stay here or do I want to move on? I've also realized that life is going to have challenges.
Yeah.
It's how I'm going to deal with those challenges, and knowing that I was also set in that mind, why should I change? You change. No, it wasn't about anybody else. It was about me. And as I said, I've always got to adjust in life. Well, people say, "Oh, stay in your lane." There's no possible way if anyone drives that you can stay in a lane. You're gonna have to move. Lanes may end, lanes may curve. There may be a
Mhm.
pothole. There could be one go. You're gonna have to learn to maneuver around. And if you're not willing to put in the work and adjust, and maybe even change, you're going to really, really struggle. And that's where I think I got out of as much as it still hurts that I don't have that mother and that family, and it still hurts with the church, as I said, I can't go in a physical building. But my grandmother came to me. She passed away. And my grandmother, I think, talked to the man above, and my grandmother said, there's something that you need to hold on to. And
Mm,
that to me was God. And we are now having our own relationship that is not being, it's not being dictated by anyone else like a pastor. It's not being interpreted the way that someone thinks that we can interpret. I actually wake up in the mornings now and I have a conversation with him. And I'm coming from a little girl that I was so hurt that I said to you when, certain things happened, that I went under the stairs and I told God, I think you hate me, so I'm going to hate you back.
mm,
And as an adult, I burnt the Bible because it's something that I don't understand. And I still have no, and again, this is me. I don't want to read it or have no thoughts because it then triggers me back to, what I seen in the church and them abandoning me, I feel. But I have my conversations with him and it feels good. In the mornings I do, and I think it was my grandmother calling back and she says, we're up here, but you're gonna have to do something also. And I've learned that I don't have a problem with him. I have the people that taught me about him. That's my
mhm,
problem.
mm,
And again, learning accountability. I'm going to say to everyone out there, I was always in the blame stage, blaming everyone else, my mom or anything like that. I think the best feeling is when I learned through therapy to use my energy in taking accountability for my actions, what I can control, my reactions, and what part did I have to play in it? And I think the part for me was continuing this cycle, um,
mm,
continuing to be like this and not wanting to adjust first and then change.
mm,
So when I started doing that and just focusing more on me, girl, woo, it felt good. And that's when I could say, my name is Karen Samuels and I have mental challenges. I'm not ashamed of it. As I said, uh, there's feelings and there's emotions. Um, I know now that I have a choice on how to control it. I have to use my tools and my resources. And I'll say to everyone, as much as you see me sitting here, it's still hard. I still mess up. There's still that reaction. I mean, for 40 something years, I would just spew in anger.
Mm,
I remember the therapist telling me, you must count 1 to 4, 1 to 10 before you wear. Who the hell counts no damn 1 to 10? And I refused to do that for so many times until I felt taking that deep breath was again like the plane. It did feel good. That was counting. But do you see where I stopped myself from learning a lot? Because it's not what we're used to, and we get uncomfortable with what we're not used to.
hmm.
And then again, being taught, I had to get uncomfortable to get
Yeah.
comfortable. So that's it. I talk a lot, don't I?
No, no, it's all gems. So I'm okay with that. And also, I want to read a comment that comes from Finance Transformer. Hi, Leah. That's my cousin.
Hello.
Um, I like that you called it a challenge instead of an illness that reframes everything. You approach it differently because your mindset and approach is different. And I couldn't agree more with that because you're right. It is a challenge. It's a mental challenge. Hey. um, it's a mental challenge that we're dealing with, and I always didn't like mental illness either because again I have bipolar disorder, and when you hear mental illness it seems like a blight on your identity and a your personality, and people like you said are looking for you to look a certain way. So I love that mental challenges, it kind of reframes the entire thing because it's not something that is a detriment to your character. It's something that you have to learn how to manage and to deal with and live with. And I love that you reframed it. And back to the plane analogy, like that is something I never really even thought about because you're right. Like sometimes when the turbulence gets too much, it's okay to land and ground yourself and get those tools back in order to get back up into what you need to do. And I appreciate that analogy because it shows that you can't do this by yourself. Like you do need support, you do need a community, and I'm so grateful that we can have conversations like this. And it doesn't matter if we're like all on the same page or all have the same background. It's like people of different backgrounds with different challenges could come together and have these important conversations and point people to where they need to be and where they need to go to get help. So I'm loving this
I love
conversation.
this, and I don't want to take away from, because again, I Google everything. There's a difference with the illnesses and the challenges. This is what I have. But if that's what works for you, as I said, everyone, where I don't want to be, where it took me so long to accept um what I was going through mentally, is because everyone made it look like if it was so bad in my community. And as you said, the illness and the challenges, I still hear people, like someone will go out there and they're a pedophile, or they rape someone, or they kill. Oh, everybody's in here and their mental illness and their mental. Why would you equate that to what they're, there's some people that just, we, it,
Yeah.
I don't understand why you put that through that. And again, with an illness like cancer,
Hmm.
um, diabetes, you don't jump to them and like ridicule them if that's considered an illness. But when we call anything a mind, you make it look like, again, that whole anything with the mind was equated to the word crazy.
Yeah.
I was never, ever, 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 ever crazy. If that's the case, then we're all crazy walking out here. I was never, but I was struggling with my feelings and my emotions, and I never had that mentor, or even someone that I could look to say something was going on, because I felt ashamed because of what I grew up with. I mean, people in the church telling you don't tell nobody your business. I, and again, my feelings overtook me. Now I know that I'm in control of this. I'm in control here. And going back to the self love, I love myself too much. I'm in love with myself that if I feel something wrong, I am going to ask. And not everybody's there because it is hard to ask. Where on the other side, for those on the other side, sometimes even when I get into that depression or I get into that frustration, sometimes me talking to you, I don't want you to even answer back. I just want to release
Yeah.
and get it out. I don't want to feel that you're going to be assessing me. Well, this is what worked for me and this that may work for you, but I'm not you. And I am not looking for you to sometimes just it's best where some people that know me just says, "Wow, Karen, you know, is there anything that you want me to do? What should I do?" And I love when they ask that so I can say, I don't want you to do anything. Just listen and okay, I got it out. All right, let's go run. Let's go play. Let's go do something because I just got it off my chest. I do like when people check in on me, the ones that are close to me. Karen, I know you were going through something. How you feeling today? Anything that and then, but we've built that trust together. And again, I don't feel like I'm being over assessed. I don't feel I'm being judged. I don't feel ashamed. It's nice too when they come and tell me things and I go, gosh, I don't even know what to say. I don't know. And then I could say, you know what? You know what? Maybe you should look up or who do you go to? What do you rely on? Have you thought about looking at that? Because um, that could maybe help you. What are the things that you like to do? Like I ask about them.
Right.
Share my story with everyone here to tell you that I'm going through it too, and I've been through it, gone through it, still going through it. That doesn't mean you're me and I'm telling you to use the exact things that I use. I'm saying that we're all going through something. And it's okay to ask and say something just doesn't feel like right. I
Mm-hmm.
need help or
Mm-hmm.
I need help. Need help means strength. When you say, I need help, that is strength. When you keep it inside, that is weakness. Again, saying, I just don't understand this. I keep on getting these memories. That is strength.
Mm-hmm.
That's you opening up, so allowing someone to come in and say, can I help you? But you got to put in the work. My therapist didn't do this. I did this.
Yeah.
People even that they didn't put in this work. I had to put in the work, and again I had to go into uncomfortable places in my mind to build, get myself uncomfortable. And that's why sometimes I can put myself in uncomfortable places. And I said, go ahead and ask me those uncomfortable questions and so forth, because I can maneuver. And if it gets too uncomfortable, I'm saying I feel a little bit uncomfortable because that's me sharing my feelings here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know how to adjust, as I said, and I know when, like the plane, there's sometimes it's really, I don't need adjustments. I'm just running on empty. There's so much things that I go out here and I try to do, and I just need to just land and take a moment, just rest, and then refuel myself back up again. Um, but how do we know all of that? We really got to know ourselves, and a lot of us don't know ourselves.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely agree, especially with really understanding who you are and knowing yourself. I definitely agree with that. And I do want to, for lack of a better term, land the plane because we could talk for hours and hours on these
I know.
topics. But Karen, I want to say a special, special thank you for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us. And before we go, I do have one final question for you. So, what advice or words of encouragement do you have for somebody who's struggling to manage their mental challenges?
I would say the advice that I have is again, look in that mirror. Start looking in that mirror every morning, and talking to yourself, and just you understand that something's not right in there, and just look at yourself. What do I want to do? Do I want to stay like this, or do I want to get out of this in a positive and right way? And again, that's you loving yourself. And if you want to get out, just Okay, just force yourself. Come on, talk to yourself and answer yourself back. I don't want to get help. Come on, you know you need some help. You got to get it. Start with that. And then once you get that, reward yourself just by saying, I love me. I love you. I love you. Thank you for doing this for me. That's what I would say. Start there.
Wow, that is awesome. So, again, Karen, I want to thank you so, so much for joining me today. This was an amazing conversation, and I just appreciate your experiences, your story, and the wisdom that you gained through it.
Thank you. And I want to say I'm honored, Sarah, that you allowed me to come on your platform. And I am honored that you yourself, put yourself in that vulnerable position and tell your story. So you are helping others out there come out and normalizing what, the different phases in life and the different challenges that we go through, or even the illness that we go through. So I want to say thank you. This is not the last time you're going to see, you're going to be back with me, but thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Part two. Definitely.
All right. Have a great one, everyone. Have a great Saturday, a great Easter weekend. Thank you.
You too. Bye.